name is Daniel Owonibi, and I'm a medical doctor. I work here in South Africa.
So where did you go to school?
I studied in Nigeria.
Mm-hmm.
Primary, secondary, university in Nigeria. I did a postgraduate course in Stellenbosch University, South Africa, and with colleges of medicine, South Africa. Also a couple of diplomas in colleges of medicine, South Africa.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
So to be exact, diploma in obstetrics.
Yeah, to be exact, I did
Diploma
in family
FEMED,
medicine.
primaries in.
I did diploma in obstetrics, diploma in HIV management, and I also did primary in obstetrics. So these are the courses or the exams I've done.
You've done
in South Africa. So
oh,
far.
Okay.
I went to Obafemi Awolowo University. So people that know Nigeria know that we brag with that school.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Obafemi Awolowo University. I studied medicine.
So you went into medicine straight, not via.
Definitely, I went to medicine straight. I didn't go through.
BSc
BSc
or another degree.
I finished after a prolonged time at the university due to strike. Anyway.
But how long was the whole university?
The whole university about 8 years. The standard is 6 years.
6 years. Oh.
I spent 8.
Oh, okay.
And one of the reasons that I left my country. But all in all, I finished from the school after plus minus 8 years.
Oh, okay.
I did not repeat a year anyway.
and then you went on to what, internship?
Yeah, you go on to internship, and then from internship, then you go and do what we call youth service in Nigeria. It's some other country call it community service, some other country call all the names, some other country call it military year or something like that. So most African countries have some sort of program like that.
Oh, okay.
And when you are done with that, you are free to go on your own, and you are an independent practitioner. Okay. To go and do what you want to do. So you can choose to stay in the country that frustrates you, or you can choose to leave the country. So in my own case, I chose to leave. If a system is not working, there are quite a number of things you can do. You can try to change it, and if you know that you're not capable to change, or you don't have power enough to effect the change, you can also change yourself to adapt to it, or you change that yourself by leaving the system. So I chose the third option. I didn't want to adapt. I didn't want to change myself, and I actually decided to leave the system.
So when did you leave?
Hey, that's a quite. I left. I have got a couple of trial and error. I've tried a couple of countries, which I may not.
So was South Africa your first choice?
It's not my first choice, but South Africa happened to be the permit me to use the word easier of the options I had then. So I chose to go through the easier means, kind of.
Can you take us through the whole process of coming to South Africa?
Yeah. First of all, first I would just say South African health system particularly, is good enough to train you, and so many European countries actually regard it as, if not equivalent, close to their system. So the advantage in that is that you can transact from South Africa to any other country or some other country without you having your qualification questioned in any form of way. I think I'm aware that in Highland you can just go through and start to work in Highland without straight from South Africa. And also in Canada, you can, if you have done your internship here in South Africa, you just do one exam and then you start to work, especially in Alberta region of Canada. So quite a number of countries also recognizes South African system. And South Africa also, recognizes some other countries' educational system as equivalent qualification to the qualification you obtain in South Africa. Okay. So in that, if you are from such countries, then you don't have to worry. Just transact and transfer yourself or travel down here in South Africa, and then you just get your license here, and then you start to practice. but most of them are European countries.
But if you're from Africa?
If you're from Africa,
or one of the African countries.
Or if you're from one of the African countries, it's a little bit complicated, but it's also easy. When there's a will, there's always a way. So the complication there is that some African countries, especially the South Africa SADC countries, have a pact with South Africa that they will not poach their doctors. So that means that they are not going to be stealing their doctor, if I may use that word, stealing. Okay, so they will not pouch their doctor. So they are reluctant into absorbing doctors from such
from SADC countries.
All right. And also some African countries also who have government-to-government agreement with South African country or South African system that the doctors will not be poached from them. All right. So some West African countries have that pact. I'm aware Nigeria has that pact with South Africa that they will not poach their doctors. I think some other East African countries also have that, agreement, But basically the SADC countries have that agreement, and that is where the clause comes in. Right? For you to practice in South Africa, basically what you need is to write an exam. It's a family medicine exam. It's an exit exam for a medical student who is in the 6th year.
Okay.
The final year exit exam. It's equivalent in strength, the quality of questions and the things that you're going to do. But before you have access to write that question, you have to pass through a body that's called Foreign Workforce Management Program. So they're the one that will see whether your government have government-to-government agreements with South Africa. They're the one that will see whether there is any other reason for them not to absorb you into the system of South Africa. So they actually regulate foreign workforce that joins the health sectors generally. Not only doctors, even nurses have their foreign workforce management program schedule also. So all health workers will go through foreign workforce management program endorsement. So for you to write an exam, you need to have the endorsement, which is form of a written letter from the foreign workforce. They have a form. You fill the form. You indicate what you come to do and what registration you want, whether it's a voluntary, a medical, supernumerary. Let's not forget that agreement does not exclude supernumerary. So if you want to come for an unpaid job, where you'll be paid from your host country and you'll be learning here, it does not include it. It's only when you want to come here and reside and work. Have your payment from the government of South Africa. That's when you need a foreign workforce management program endorsement. And if you happen to come from a country where the foreign workforce tags as a country that has intergovernment agreement with them that they will not poach the doctor or any SADC country, then there are other ways you can go about to get your foreign workforce certification or endorsement. So one of them is if you are married to a South African.
Yes. So you need citizenship.
Yeah, you need permanent residence.
Permanent residence.
Yeah, if you're a permanent resident of South Africa from whatsoever means, then you can bypass that. If you're married to a South African, you can prove that you are married to a South African, you can bypass that. In the government gazette of foreign workforce, you can bypass that process because you have a valid reason to be in South Africa. Some other people have talked about possibility of you having an exemption letter from your country saying that you have been exempted from that government agreement and you have been released, which is called the letter of release. I'm not aware of the current regulations as to that, but there was a time that was acceptable by the government for the workforce. So those are the caveats that you can bypass the general rule by those caveats. If you are endorsed to write an exam, then congratulations to you.
So everyone at the end of the day has to write the exam,
The
even
exam.
if they are married to South African, they
Yes.
then at least bypass that whole process,
Yes.
but are meant to write an exam.
Exactly. Everyone from Africa, most countries from Africa. I'm not aware. Maybe Egypt have similar, or Namibia. I don't know exactly which country in Africa that is seen as equivalent to the training they receive in South Africa. But yeah, there are some countries in Europe that definitely that have similar. But most African countries, Congo, East African countries, West African countries, SADC countries, a lot of them have to write the qualifying exam, for practice. It's just something to show that you can actually practice as a family physician in South Africa, because it's actually an exam that is organized by the College of Family Physician of South Africa. So they are the one that organizes the exam. They're the one that marks it. They're the one that sets the requirements for passing or for failing the exam.
Okay.
And based on the need of the country, also sometimes there is variability in the quota of the number of doctors they need, the number of, that's political. I can't really say much about that. But what I can say is that you have to have an endorsement. That's the first step. Second step after endorsement, you have to write the exam. Usually, the exam have 2 diets, meaning there are 2, semester for the exam in the year. So there is one in the first half of the year and the second one in the second half. Most of the time it's around March, April, and July, August, or August, September. So you write the exam. The exam is basically divided into 2 parts. You have the MCQ, which is multiple choice questions, and you have the practical exam, where it is
scenario-based.
Scenario-based exam. Okay, so which you have to see the patient actually, and clerk sometimes you have to speak to the patient. So in the objective one, which is the multiple choice questions, there are 2 parts. You have the ethic part, South African ethics, the ethics and the general medicine and surgery and what have you. So the ethics part, you have to score at least 50% of the ethics part, and the general MCQ you also have to pass with at least 50%. So if you pass the general with 50% but you fail the ethics, it's a failure. So you can pass the exam and then fail the ethics, but yet fail the exam, sorry. So you have to pass both with at least 50%.
And there's also an OSCE part.
And then there is an OSCE part, which we also have to pass with at least 50%. There used to be fail station, like resuscitations and all of that, but that has been stopped now. That has been scrapped now, I presume. So now it's just a gross, pass that makes you pass the exam. And it also has the counseling section, the medical emergency section, and other sections. So you must be able to
do all of that.
Yes. Most of the exam, emphasizes you to understand the ethics of practice in South Africa, because it's a little bit different from countries to countries, and medicine is a little bit similar from country to country. So ethics is the difference. You must be able to prove that you are a doctor who understands the ethical requirements for practice in South Africa. If you pass the exam, then you register.
Oh, then it's done.
Once you pass the exam, then you go back to foreign workforce for approval to register or endorsement to register, and then you present that registration, and then you register. And also, if you are from a country that you need a work permit, or you don't have a permanent residency, you also apply to the foreign workforce. So you are always a ready customer of the foreign workforce. They want to regulate that number of physicians that will practice in South Africa and that will be allowed to practice in South Africa. And they want to monitor at every stage. So you get that endorsement to look for a job. You use that endorsement to look for a job. Once you pass your register, In the past, if you register, they register people for internship, regardless of what you have done in the past.
Oh, that was the other thing.
So they register some
So even
people.
if you're an experienced medical officer from a foreign country, you come out and start as intern level, even
So-
with the salary.
Yes, sometimes yes. With salary, it is most of it. It depends. That's what I'm saying. That there is no fixed rule. The policies of the South African government as to regards to foreign doctors, especially the HPCSA policies, changes from year to year. Sometimes even from an exam to another exam. Within the same year. Some of the time they say all of them must do 2 years internship. If you pass, you do 2 years internship. So they register you as interns, even though you have done interns in your county. So you become an intern, and then you get your internship certificate, and voila, you practice. But that internship certificate has a lot of value because a lot of international organizations also recognizes that certificate as a postgraduate training for you. So it is a plus for you at the same time if you do that. And if you don't do that, it's also you tend to earn more if you're not an intern. I don't think that's a rocket science. But if you're looking for to use, some people use South Africa as a leeway to other places they want to go to. You want to use that stepping stone, to spring you up to other more developed countries. Then internship is for you. Internship will pay you. But if you don't want to do that, you want to practice here, you are after some cool cash. Because the difference in salary is about plus minus $1,000.
But when you're comparing what you were getting paid in Nigeria versus what you're getting paid now,
you want to go to
let's say
Dubai
same
now.
level. Let's say same level.
Anyway, I'm from Nigeria. Nigeria does not have a standard pay for doctors of any level. It's about $600 per month. That's not a lot of money.
Compared to South Africa.
Yeah, no. South Africa, if you are a graduate, a fresh graduate, you will earn about, for your internship, plus minus, let's say $2,000, more than $2,000. Yeah. The pay is much, much better in South Africa than many African countries. Many African countries pay far less than South Africa. Even comparatively, the cost of living in South Africa is low. Comparatively with United Kingdom, or sometimes your disposable income is more here than in United Kingdom. Because in United Kingdom you also earn about roughly around that, but the taxes are more. The cost of living in some area are more. And then if you look at how much is left with you and how much is left with you in South Africa, you'd rather come to South Africa than go to UK. South Africa is a country that caters for all levels of wealth, or all level of wealth structures. So at the same time, if a person is very poor, you can find your way around and get things done for yourself at that level. If you're middle class and you want to operate at the middle class, both your rent, everything can also be operated at the middle class level. And if you are a little bit on the higher scale of earning and you want to operate in a community of such, you can also get it. So I would say South Africa is one of the unique countries that caters for every cater. So you can even earn a lot and then decide to live like a very, very poor person and still get by easily, because there are people in that category and living such life abundant when you come here. So it's a country that gives you that unique opportunity. If you are a specialist, it is the same process. Unfortunately for you, and for South Africa does not recognize many specialists or from Africa. So you will come to South Africa and you start working as a medical officer. But the same process. Get your endorsement, write your exam, pass your exam, come to South Africa, apply for a job, and practice.
And then, but you'll practice as a general practitioner in private.
Medical officer, whatever it is. If you are working in the government hospital and you are a specialist of obstetrics and gynecology, they will recognize that skill of yours and then use it, but it will not be officially recognized.
So you won't get paid as a
You won't
specialist,
get paid as a specialist. You have
even
to
though
be
you're being
trained in South
used.
Africa. Yes, you have to be
that's
trained
unfair.
in South Africa.
So then-
specialist, it's a, especially if you're not if you're not a family physician, because family physician anyway, I think it's easier because they are also working as medical officer.
Anyway,
Anyway, I'll give you the positive and then the pros and then perhaps the cons. In conclusion, South Africa is a very, very good place for you to be when you are a doctor coming from other African country. Even if you plan to go to more advanced country, it is a very good intermediate country. You can learn how things function in advanced country because their system is similar to many advanced countries. So that's the first thing. And number two is that South African pay for doctors is very, very good. You live a little bit above the average. So at least you'll be comfortable enough for what you want to do, and you have a lot of disposable income if you are a very good spender and manager of funds, and you can live comfortably in South Africa because the country caters for all level of income, low income, middle income, and high income people. So even though you are a high income earner, you can also live your life as a low income earner and then save a lot if you are into saving. And there's a lot of disposable income for you. The country is good enough for you to have the basic necessity of life, and they have good school for your kids if you're married and have kids, and it's generally a good place for postgraduate training also. If you're into postgraduate training, if you are into furthering yourself and advancing yourself, there are so many things you can do. The private practice is also a very good, option for you if you can practice South Africa, and it's very lucrative, very financially rewarding if you're into private practice. But first, you must come through the government setups before you get into private practice. Thirdly, the process is straightforward. The only concern or the only rate limiting problem, I'm going to cons now, is the foreign workforce. And once you can scale that hurdle, then welcome to a good life. Everything is going to work smoothly. But if a lot of people are still in that hurdles, and then it's sometimes, with all due respect to the system, frustration can set in when you're at that level because they ask for some of those things. The policies are not consistent from year to year. They keep changing them. And then you have to adjust yourself to that policy. And then when you are actually adjusting yourself to the new change in the policy, they might still change it. So that is the cons about it. But otherwise, once we can scale through the foreign workforce management endorsement, then the other things are pretty straightforward. The exam is simpler than PLAB, or you don't need to write IELTS if you are from English-speaking country, except you are from Congo, where they speak French, or some other African countries that are francophone countries. But they don't need you to do other things. It's pretty straightforward for countries that speak English. You don't need more than one exam. You enter. The pay is similar to the UK, if not better in some ways in terms of disposable incomes. And basically, South Africa practice for me is good. It's good. I won't say come here because I'm not an advocate of you leaving your country. But if you think you have to advance yourself in any way and you're not satisfied with what you are doing or where you are, it is a good place to explore. I think so.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Owonibi.
Yeah, pleasure.
Maybe we'll have you on the channel again for something or another. Thank you.